Hey parents, welcome back to At Home Videos. I hope that this week has started off well for you guys as you've gotten back into routine of school and work. I really hope that you guys had an amazing Thanksgiving holiday with your friends and your family and being thankful for what God has blessed you with. We are back in the worship center this Wednesday night from 6:30 to 8 for FSM, and we're continuing our series called You in 5 Years. We'll be looking at what it looks like to dive in and build our relationship and invest in our relationship with Jesus now so that we can be the person He wants us to be in 5 years. And so before this Wednesday happens, I just want to give you guys a quick rundown on what we're going to be doing. Again, remember, we're splitting teaching times for this series, and so just know that for our junior high students, I'm going to be hanging out with them and talking to them about what I talked to our senior high students about 2 weeks ago, which is suffering and trials, and just looking at how we need to walk through that and how God can actually use that and to be really formative experiences in our lives to shape us into who He wants us to be. So if you've got a student in 7th or 8th grade, one of the things that you can be talking about them with at home as you continue this conversation is, man, what are some difficult things that you've been through? What would you consider that in your life that you have suffered through that has been a trial for you? And how have you heard God in those experiences? And maybe even share a story from your life where you have suffered or where you have been through a trial of some sort and God has used that to shape you and bring you closer to Him. And then for our senior high students, they're going to be hearing from John Blackman, one of our elders here on the Benton campus. He's going to be talking to them about mentoring and encouraging our high school students to start looking at how they can not only be poured into by somebody who's older than them and further along in their walk with Jesus, but actually pour into some of our younger students as well. And so overall, he's going to be looking at kind of how they need to look at the relationship that Paul had with Barnabas and Timothy. He's going to be encouraging our senior high students to be a Barnabas, to be somebody who is encouraging, who is a friend, who walks with somebody through good and bad in their lives and his encouragement to them. How they need to have a Paul in their lives, because Paul and Timothy's relationship was one where they Paul was pouring into Timothy's life and raising him up to be the pastor that God had called him to be and the Christ follower that God was calling him to be. And so who is somebody that they can ask to be part of their life that can pour into them and be an encouragement, but also call them up to follow more closely after Jesus. And then they also need to have a Timothy. They need to have somebody who is 2 or 3 years younger than them, further behind in their walk with Jesus, who they can be pouring into. And so we're going to ask them to identify the people in their lives who could be those people. So that's conversation stuff for you at home. If you've got a senior high student, just ask them, are you being a Barnabas to somebody or to your friends? Are you actually encouraging them and calling them up and calling them to follow after Jesus? Who is a Paul in your life? Who's somebody who's investing in you? Who's a mentor in your life? And then who is your Timothy? Who's somebody, maybe even in FSM and Benton here, that you could be pouring into, spending time with, being intentional with, to disciple and grow in their relationship with Jesus? I'm looking forward to hanging out this Wednesday night. Really excited to see your students after the break, and I really am looking forward to a great night. Be praying for us as we dive into the Word. We'll see you Wednesday.